Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the Omniviewer, and I'm feeling a little stuck at the moment. It's Halloween, and usually Halloween is when internet personalities such as myself review monster movies or otherwise creepy things. Problem is, I do that year round, so how the heck am I supposed to commemorate the holiday? For a brief time, I had considered reviewing The Nightmare, a recent documentary film about sleep paralysis that relies heavily on reenactments, but let's just say I'm still processing what I saw. So tired. No, don't fall asleep. The shadow people will get you if you fall asleep. Stay awake. Stay awake. So now here I sit, staring at my extensive DVD collection, waiting for inspiration to strike. I feel like I've got to do something. Even if it's just a movie set on Halloween, I'd be more than happy to... Hang on. There's a movie set on Halloween, but that's not an important part of the story, so it can be watched any time of the year, but it would still... I have an idea, everyone. Okay, where is it? Please tell me the Distorter moved it with me. Eureka! We have it, ladies and gentlemen. Do many of you remember my review of The Secret of Kells? For those of you who are new to the channel, I provided a link in the description. But the basic gist of it is this. The Secret of Kells, the first film produced by the Irish animation studio G-Kids, is one of my all-time favorite movies. Visually beautiful, thematically rich, surprisingly mature and subtle, it's a movie that you need to see no matter what. Today, we will be looking at G-Kids' second film, Song of the Sea. Is it a worthy successor to The Secret of Kells? I certainly think so. Let's take a closer look and find out why. Meet Ben, a little boy living in an island lighthouse off the coast of Ireland. Life has been hard for him. Ever since his mother vanished 6 years ago, his only friend has been his dog, Coo. Not that he has no human contact, mind you. His father, Connor, is still there running the lighthouse, but he has been melancholy and distant since his wife's departure. And then there's Saoirse, his little sister, who was born the night his mother vanished. Ben hates Saoirse, silently blaming her on some level for the tragedy, and the fact that she can't speak for some reason only makes them more distant. On the night of her 6th birthday, Saoirse is found washed up on the island's beach. Nobody knows how she got there, and she's incapable of telling them anyway. Fearing the worst, Connor's mother demands that the children come to live in the city with her. When the siblings flee the house in a bid to get back home, which coincidentally takes place on Halloween, they make a startling discovery. Saoirse is a Selkie, a being from Irish mythology that can transform into a seal. And if she sings a certain song before dawn the next day, a miracle will happen that shall release the fairy folk trapped across Ireland. There are 4 problems, though. First, as mentioned, Saoirse can't speak, let alone sing. Second, a witch named Macha has other plans for the fairies of Ireland and has sent her owl minions to chase them. Third, Saoirse's Selkie coat, from which her powers derive, is missing. Fourth, and most pressing, Saoirse is dying, and might not even last until dawn. Much like The Secret of Kells, Song of the Sea was nominated for an Oscar. And, like The Secret of Kells, it lost. This time to Big Hero 6, which will be the only time the Academy ever recognizes a comic book-based superhero movie for something other than special effects. And quite frankly, I'm still very disappointed, because Song of the Sea deserves more recognition. You may have even seen clips from it in other videos regarding the current state of family films and entertainment, but no real review of it seems to exist yet. So I'm going to fix that problem. Join me, won't you? And we'll take a deeper look into why Song of the Sea is worth your time. Let's look at the art style first. Kells had a beautiful artistic style that was heavily influenced by the book which inspired it. Song is not based on a book, and as such, its visuals are very different. It's similar in style, but has no bold outlines and possesses an overall softer texture. I honestly can't decide if it looks more like watercolors or pastels, but it's gorgeous either way. What they do in this film is nothing short of breathtaking. The first underwater sequence when Saoirse transforms is one of the greatest pieces of animation I've ever seen, and it is all hand drawn. They managed to make everything look amazing. I, for one, never knew how cool and ominous electrical towers could look before I saw Song of the Sea. I'd always just assumed they were things to get torn down by Godzilla. But now, I realize that they're very effective at setting mood. The visuals are also used to draw parallels between the human world and the fairy world in creative ways. You may notice certain characters have similar designs, which is usually because they share similar stories. Their actions have parallels too. For example,
The end of it now. I need to take my medicine.
much like Kells, there is subtlety still at play here. The parallels are never directly addressed, but the audience will have no difficulty recognizing the subtext at play. In fact, the parallels help to introduce a slight hint of ambiguity into the story. You don't know if this is all actually happening, or if this is just fueled by the imaginations of Ben and Saoirse. You do get a clear answer by the end, though. But there's so much more to it than just the visuals. Speaking of the characters, special attention must be paid to our silent heroine, Saoirse. Given that she is Aisling's successor, a character that I praised quite heavily in the past, she has some pretty big shoes to fill, and she does so, but in a very different way. First of all, she is so freaking adorable! Look at that face! How could you not love that face? Only someone who is part seal can be that impossibly cute. But then again, it takes more than just being cute in order to be a good character. And the added challenge with Saoirse is that she can't talk. Everything about what she's thinking and feeling is conveyed non-verbally, which means the audience has to work just a little bit harder to understand her, and in doing so, a deeper connection is formed. Now, the way the story is written might make it seem like Saoirse is just a standard damsel in distress who has to be saved by Ben. But there's actually a very subtle subversion at work here. Although Saoirse is frequently captured and or in danger, and Ben does go to get her, Saoirse is always the one who ultimately does the saving. The outcome of the entire story falls on her almost non-existent shoulders, meaning that she's really not a damsel in distress. She is ultimately the real hero of the story, even if she can't talk. Ben is the one we follow throughout the story, though, so most of our emotional investment rests on him and his portrayal. If you saw my unscripted reaction to Jurassic World, you may recall that one of the few bad things I had to say about it was that the older brother's story arc felt like it was missing a scene. He was a jerk to his little brother the whole time until he wasn't anymore, and we never got to see him actually make that change. Not so with Song of the Sea. For the first little bit of the film, Ben's attitude towards Saoirse is dismissive at best and outright bullying at worst. It's terrible, but it's also kind of understandable. He associates Saoirse's very existence with his mother's absence, a painful memory to him, and being a kid, he deals with that pain by lashing out at her. Just because it's understandable doesn't mean it's okay. And so his character arc is about transitioning from cruel to kind. And honestly, I cannot think of it being handled any better than it is here. And no, the fantasy elements do not hinder that. If anything, they enhance it. I suppose a discussion of thematics is also warranted. I had said that The Secret of Kells had more themes running through it than I had time to discuss in that video. You might expect me to say the same thing for Song of the Sea, but I can't do that. There aren't as many themes in this movie. There are in fact only 2. Now, that does make it a simpler film, but that isn't a bad thing. Being simpler makes it more focused, and it handles its themes splendidly, as you would expect. The first theme is one we've seen before, how tragedy affects a family and the steps they go through to reunite. It's incredibly well written, even by the standards of the genre, But, like I've said, we've seen it before, so I won't dwell on it too long here. I'd much rather discuss the second theme. This theme involves the act of helping others deal with hardship, and how not every choice is the right one. Every character at some point in the film makes a decision that they think is going to help someone they care about, only for it to be the worst possible choice they could make, causing things to get much, much worse. In each instance, it's done with the best of intentions, usually to get someone away from some kind of hardship, but it never works. No matter how much you may want the opposite to be the case, hardship is something you can't avoid, and you can't pretend it's not there either. You have to confront it, and only then will it get better. That's quite an important message for this film's target audience. Heck, I know adults that could stand to learn it. I accidentally forgot to discuss the beautiful soundtrack in The Secret of Kells, a mistake I will not repeat here. As you may have guessed by how the word song is in the title, music is important to Song of the Sea, and it's every bit as wonderful as the visuals and writing. The centerpiece of the whole thing is a song that is both sung and played on a seashell flute. And this melody has become one of my all-time favorite songs, not just for movie soundtracks, but for general music. I'll play you a little bit during the credits so you can hear what I'm talking about. Do I have anything bad to say about this movie? Well, yeah, there's one thing, but even I have to admit it's kinda nitpicky. The movie just sort of assumes that the viewer is familiar with Irish mythology, and thus doesn't explain a lot of what we're seeing, so not having the familiarity might detract a bit from the experience.
Yes! Yes! I am the great Shanachie!
Oh hey, that's great! Should I know that name? Granted though, I'm saying that as an American viewer. My knowledge of mythology and folklore is greater than most, but even my vast reservoir of useless facts is kinda limited when it comes to Ireland. Then again, this movie wasn't made for Americans. Song of the Sea was made by Irish animators for an Irish studio with an Irish audience in mind. What am I supposed to do? Sit here and complain that the filmmakers didn't make a movie specifically tailored to me and what I want? My Momney viewer didn't raise no narcissist. Besides, it's easy enough to put the pieces together with just what you've got on the screen. So really, it's only a minor hiccup in what is otherwise a great movie. And that is Song of the Sea, a film I cannot speak highly enough about. With The Secret of Kells, G-Kids had my attention. With Song of the Sea, they now have my undying loyalty, and I cannot wait to see what they cook up for a third film. So long as they keep up this momentum, they will surpass Disney and Pixar in terms of quality very quickly. But they'll still probably get passed over at the Oscars. Oh well, the Oscars really don't matter anyway. So, whether you're looking for a different kind of movie to watch on Halloween, or just a good film, Song of the Sea is something you need to check out. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omniviewer, signing off. I really need to set up my new studio.